I'm in. Unlock, code, and I'm right at the agendas.
Does it say join?
Join. Join. Where's
No,
it?
it does not.
Where was it? Join.
It'll say it right here.
I already went to the agenda.
Join.
Oh, yeah, Michael. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got it up and rolling? Mike, you got it up and rolling for this meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
just turned it off.
Okay. Hello, Dr. McGuire.
Hello, sir.
Buddy.
Get my high pressure.
Take your time.
You gotta go slow and stuff.
Really? That's,
Yes, I am. Now we go to
do I hit that for everything now? When I go back? Like, council meeting, what, just join each one, each meeting? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, as we're getting our final instructions. Good to go. We're good to go. Everybody ready on console? Good, we're ready to roll. Special meeting, contract review and approval. Call this meeting to order. Mr. Hanlon, we'll start with R73.
R73 is an authorization for the engagement of professional services with Aquatic Analyst, Inc. in the amount of $28,045 for a 3-year contract to apply herbicide to control aquatic growth at Union Terrace, Trexler, the Reflection Ponds, and Muhlenberg Lake.
And is that, go ahead, Beth, Ms. Stroll, go ahead.
Yes, this is to treat the ponds, as Mr. Hanlon indicated. There were 3 quotes obtained, and the company identified as the lowest responsible bidder.
And the 28,000 for 3 years?
For 3 years, yes.
Okay, so it breaks down to about 9,500, whatever, around there.
Yes.
Okay, comments from my colleagues? Mr. Hendricks.
Is this something we've done in the past and we do every year? I assume it is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and obviously it's been effective in cutting down on the algae and such?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Haridi.
I am happy to see that because I'm always, every year, for the last 3 years, I had requested that, and I'm happy to see that we do it early this year. And it look good now, but it's going to continue to look better throughout the summer. So that's great. Good job.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, any other colleagues? Dr. McGuire.
The contract is 28,000 for 3 years. Is that 28,000 divided by 3 for each year, or is it 28,000 for 3 times?
No, it's 28,000 divided by 3.
Okay.
So it's 9,315 a year.
Okay. And I will support the idea. This is a very good firm. I can see their work. So.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. McGuire. Any other comments from my colleagues? Any comments from the public? Hi, Lou. Welcome.
Hi, I'm going to do something rare here. I'm going to film and...
For the record, and you know...
For the record, Lou...
I've been criticized lately by some of my media friends.
Okay, but...
That I don't ask people that I know their name and address, so I want to make him happy this evening.
Okay, Lou Shoup, 623 North 6th Street. My question involves the herbicide itself is being applied to the water to prevent algae growth. Will this impact the water? Will this pollute the water? at all? I'm just curious to know that.
Good question.
No. That is not a, no.
It won't pollute the water at all?
No, that's not.
Okay, do you know the name of the herbicide that you're using?
Not at my time. At this time, I do not. We can get that for you.
If you could, please, thank you. I just wanted to raise that
No,
point.
that's a very good question. Any other comments from the public? Mr. Hanlon, we're gonna vote. Can we do the pass? Okay. Oh, man, it came right up. Woo-hoo. I'm in. Wow.
Thanks now, Mr. President.
Man, I'm ready, yeah.
We already voted, you were marked absent.
We're waiting for.
Who was Mark Absent?
I didn't have the proposal with me, but Beth, that's what's applied.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. I'll read that later. I can't read paper very well, but thank you for getting back to me.
Right about 7 days and no days, it's there.
Wow, man, thank you. Mr. Hanlon, R74.
R74 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Brother Joe Entertainment, Inc. in the amount of $3,200 for 2U performance at Terrace Park on June 3rd, 2016.
Okay, Ms. Stroll.
This is a performance held on June 3rd at Union Terrace Parks. The musical performance will be by U2's cover band 2U. In the amount of $3,200 for the actual performance.
Do we get front row seats? Do we have to fight over tickets?
That'd be absolutely.
Not bad. Any comments from my colleagues?
I have a question.
Mr. Hendricks, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, President. Ms. Taylor, is this part of an event scheduled there other than just the band itself, or is this just for the band?
No, this is just a concert with the band. There's no other event that I know of, in keeping at the same time with it.
Okay,
They
so
have a
this is-
very large following, so.
I did see that, yeah, I looked it up, I Googled it, and they're supposed to be the consummate or
Yes.
the best tribute band out there that does YouTube music. And I was just wondering if it was in conjunction with anything else.
Honestly, I don't
So
think
similar to
so.
movies in the park, but this
Yes.
is gonna be, okay.
Yes.
Is this gonna be in place of one of the movies in the park, or?
No, it's an additional concert in the park at a new location. Sometimes we venture away from West Park, and this is one of those times. We're trying to branch out in addition to the Allentown band, Pioneer Band and Marine Band, trying some different bands as well for different
Okay,
age
good.
groups.
And I think it's great to put that for an older segment of our population, other than the movies. But thank you.
Excuse me?
Well, or not children, but
I'm
teens or older.
Dr. McGuire, I looked at you said. What's that? Now, any other comments from the colleagues? Let's try something. Ms. Moda, hit request to speak. I want to see, you know.
I did.
And it didn't say anything to me. Do I have to do anything? I'm just practicing. Oh, you request to speak. Does it show up on mine?
I requested it, it's gonna withdraw.
I also did request to speak.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I was the first.
Yeah, no, but I just want to see, if you come up request to speak, and I should be
I
on
was
the
targeted for position, just to let you know.
Oh, just in case, just in case.
Oh, I want to see if it comes up. No, maybe we should just like do that at the end, because we want to keep moving, because, huh? Do I hit view speakers? Okay. Okay, Mr. McLean, and then Ms. Moda and Mr. Green.
No, I will prefer to Ms. Moda.
Okay, and then,
What a
do I
gentleman.
get Ms.
What a
Moda to
gentleman.
get her off? Ms. Moda, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mulwiler. Thank you, Mr. President. What I would like to know is, can you give us more information regarding this event, such as the time, so this will be a free event?
Yes, it will. I don't have the specifics with me, but it's all on our website.
Okay.
Our website and Adventure Allentown will have all the information regarding the concert times and locations.
Okay,
All our
thank you.
concerts.
I can comment, it's at 6:30.
Oh, it's at 6:30.
6:30 to 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McLean.
I guess my question comes from Mr. Hendricks' comment about this has a pretty large following. Do we know how many people we're gonna expect here, and what other kind of expenses we're gonna incur with this? And I just hit my pad and lost something here. Like police and parks and whatnot?
believe it's that large of an event. It's just larger than what we normally have for our normal concert events. I don't believe that, our concerts go through the special event process, so if we believe the numbers are such, then police will be there. I don't participate in that process, the special event process, but we do make that based on the expected attendance that we get, that will determine whether or not police will be there.
Okay.
If that is the case, usually the band, it's a special event, that it's an outside group, the band and the group will pay for it. If it's our program, we will accommodate.
And this is our program.
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay. Okay, Mr. Green.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. So, Ms. Taylor, there won't be any vendors or anything like that?
No, there will not.
Okay, so you just go over and watch the band play and go home?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on council? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, let's vote.
Great, on 78, no nays.
Fantastic. R75, Mr. Hanlon.
R75 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Barry Eisen Associates in the estimated amount of $4,500 a year, billed at an hourly rate for emergency engineering services.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoll?
Yes, these are for emergency engineering services for our Building Standards and Safety Bureau. And these would be used in the event that there is a sinkhole, a car would hit a building or a garage and they have to have an engineer come out. Anytime where there's questions on whether a building or residence is structurally sound after an incident, they would call these emergency engineers. What they ask for is per hour pricing based on their rate schedules, and then they budget so much amount every year, but they don't know exactly how much they're going to spend because it's on an emergency basis.
Okay, thank you. If you want to speak, ask questions, interview speakers.
Yeah, man. Don't find the thing out there.
Down on the bottom right.
Not there, mine now. Oh,
You can't speak if you don't find it.
Hmm?
You can't speak if you don't find it.
Am I on?
And we will go to Mr. Green.
Thank you, sir. Is this be like a task order agreement that they would come over as when they say a need for them, and then you write on the contract, or you say how does it go? Is he like a lawyer on consignment kind of thing, or is it like do you do task order?
So what they do is there's actually two vendors that are before you tonight for this, the next resolution and this resolution. So they quoted it out, and two companies responded to get rates. There's no contract because it's under $10,000. But what they'll do then is they will either do a blanket order for the year, or they will pay them on invoice since we've already come here for approval.
Oh, okay, so they'll come back if we need to.
Yes, this is just to approve
Okay.
them engaging them for emergency services if needed.
And was that put out for RFP as well?
No, because it's under $40,000, they quote it, the individual bureau will quote it out. And that's what they did here, they got two companies come in.
Hold on a second. It's not a bid.
It's not a bid, it's not an RFP.
How do we figure out that those are the companies that we want?
The individual bureau of Building Standards and Safety solicited quotes for these services, and they
Well, how did
received.
They solicited, so that would be like, that's without credit. They solicited the quotes.
They
So how
solicited
do they
quotes.
solicit the quotes? I'm trying to figure out if it is a professional service, task, RFP, or if it is, they just, how do they know, how did Barry Eisen know that they had to, bid on this?
They received communication from Building Standards and Safety from Carmen Dragata. He's the director of Building Standards and Safety. So they received a request to quote, and they were asked to submit pricing based on, a primary engineer, assistant, that type of stuff. So those services are already quoted, so they don't have to put it through as an emergency.
I'm a little
And because the threshold amount, Mr. Greedy, is under $10,000, the department has the ability on its own to get at least 2 quotes, which is what is required in the
Oh,
ordinances.
okay. So they got
And
at
this
least
is
2 quotes.
oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Beatty. Anyone else calling in? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will vote.
Paragraph 78,
Thank you, sir. R76.
R76 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Panoni Associates in the estimated amount of $4,500 a year for emergency engineering services billed at hourly rates depending on the staff used.
Ms. Knoll?
This is the other quote that we had talked about. This is the other company that submitted rates for the emergency engineer services. And again, these are for any time that there's a building or residence that they need to know if it's structurally sound.
So they're both happy?
Correct. They'll both get work
Right.
under this.
Anyone would like to ask questions? Go to your speakers and call in. I have no one. Any comments from the public? Let's vote. Thank you, sir. And we will vote.
Paragraph 7 yeas and no nays.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hamlin, R77.
R77 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with Barry Eisen Associates in the estimated amount of $3,000 a year for inspection services during staff shortages or emergencies billed at hourly rates of $55 for a BIA certified inspector during normal hours and $80 for off hours.
Ms. Stroll.
So this is very similar to the emergency engineer service. These are emergency inspection services in the event that the services are needed throughout the calendar year.
Thank you, Ms. Stroll. Anyone like to ask questions? I have Mr. McLean.
Just one question here. Services during staff shortages or emergencies, obviously emergencies I understand. Explain staff shortages to me. I think I know, but.
So in the event that there is a natural disaster and they're maxed out on manpower, they don't have enough people on staff, they'll bring in the emergency inspectors.
Okay, it's not like if somebody's on vacation and we're calling them out. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I see no other colleagues asking questions, comments, questions from the public. Seeing none, we will vote.
Paragraph 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin, R78.
R78 is a, where is it? R78 is an authorization for the engagement of professional services with Codemasters Inspection Services in the estimated amount of $3,000 a year for inspection services during staff shortages and emergencies, billed at hourly rates of $74 an hour for certified commercial inspectors, $115 for off hours, and $60 an hour for certified residential inspector, $90 for off hours. They come from building standards.
Thank you, sir. Anyone like to ask questions? Oh, this is Ms. Roll.
No, that's okay.
Okay, no.
This is the alternate quote that they received, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Roll. Anyone like to ask questions, my colleagues? Seeing none, comments, questions from the public? Seeing none, let us vote.
Paragraph 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you. Mr. Hamlin, R79.
R79 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with CenterPoint Tank Services in the amount of $1,640 for underground tank inspections.
Thank you. Ms. Roll.
Yes, these inspections are required by the DEP, PADEP, and they are for the underground tanks at the Parks Maintenance Building and the Municipal Golf Course.
Thank you, Ms. Roll. Any questions from my colleagues? We have one. Mr. Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is this a requirement every year to have these tanks tested, if you know?
Every 3 to 5 years, they send us a letter for different tanks that we have. It's nothing set in stone when we're gonna get it. It's almost like, you know, Big Brother watching to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing for underground tanks. And this way, we can actually continue to get our permits to have these underground tanks. So they don't tell you exactly. They give you a letter and say, like, within 90 days, you need to do this.
And they dictate to you which tanks they want to test?
Yes, but I
So
believe
they have a,
it's every 3 to 5 years, though, each one needs to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I see no other, Mr. McLean.
I'm sorry, so do we have to budget for this every year then, just in case we get a letter, or do we have
I
some
budget-
semblance of when it's gonna happen?
Right, normally every year, with the amount of tanks we have, every year there's at least 1 or 2. So we actually budget that through the fleet maintenance budget. So that way we are prepared for that every year. And then if there are any minor needs as far as any sacrificial diodes that they need to put in there to save the tank actually, then we also have that money budgeted in that account. So we are prepared for that every year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any comments from the public? Let us vote.
Mr. President, I have 7 yeas and no nays.
Mr. Hanlon, R80.
R80 is an authorization for a change order with Langen Engineering and Environmental Services in the amount of $30,500, increasing the total contract price from $92,600 to $123,100 as a result of environmental remediation issues at the Jackson Street Park.
Mr. Law, I think we heard a little bit about this last time from Ms. Taylor, and we appreciate that, but Mr. Law, go ahead.
So I just wanted to mention that this change order did go through the change order committee and was approved by the committee prior to coming to city council tonight.
Yes, it was. Any more colleagues want to buzz in and speak? Seeing none. Any comments from the public? Mr. Hamlin, we will vote.
Mr. President, I have 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you, sir. R81.
R81 is an authorization for engagement of professional services with McMahon Transportation Engineers and Planners in the amount of $3,975 for engineering services related to the downtown signal system for a multimodal transportation fund grant environmental review.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stroll.
Yes, this was, as Mr. Hanlon indicated, engineering services related to the expansion of the downtown signal system for a multimodal transportation fund grant, environmental documentation, and project coordination and review. There
Thank
was
you, Ms.
only-
Stroll. Any one of my colleagues calling in? No, seeing none. Comments from the public? Seeing none, Mr. Hamlin, let's call vote. Let's call vote. Let's vote.
Mr. President, I have 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you, sir. R82.
R82 is an authorization of a contract with Kleinfelder in the budget amount of $35,000 a year with 5 additional 1-year extensions for consulting services for the EPA administrative order on the elimination of wastewater treatment plant bypasses and sanitary overflows.
Thank you, Ms. Stroll.
Yes, this was an official RFP solicitation. It was advertised on March 16th. We accepted questions until March 30th. We issued addenda by April 1st. We had our public opening on April 7th. The evaluation committee conducted their technical review on April 12th, their cost review on April 13th, and we issued the award of the RFP on April 14th. And we're here for the approval of the contract before it can be executed.
Okay, understood. Anyone want to buzz in? Seeing none. Anybody, any comments from the public? We will vote. Let us vote.
President, I have 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you, sir. R84.
R84 is the authorization for engagement of professional services with Pumex Technologies, the amount of $6,500 to configure the SharePoint 2013 environment for custom application hosting.
Thank you, Ms. Stroll.
Yes, this is for app hosting configuration from our IT department.
Mhm.
These are services that they could not provide, and they did obtain 2 quotes.
Okay. Anyone buzzing in? I do not see anyone. Comments from the public? Mr. Hirschman?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see the way you guys are voting tonight.
Uh-huh.
This is how it goes voting like in Harrisburg, you know.
Mr. Hirschman, I cannot even reach Ms. Moda's computer, and I have a short arm for Mr. Hendrick's computer, so I would say it's,
If somebody takes their iPad home, can they vote from home? If they listen on the telephone around the town, or this, out in the boat?
No, though, you gotta be in this network. You gotta be in this network and nobody can connect up to whatever they're connecting up to.
You know, we have a local legislator in trouble for close voting, I don't want to see anyone here get in trouble too. And my next question is, when you put an agenda on before you vote, it says attachments, there were no attachments, okay, thank you.
I think there were attachments back there. They're attached for your bills. No, the bills are back there.
The bills are, like, says attachments, contractors.
They're back there, each of the individual resolutions are back there with them.
They were also available online.
Everything's available online, they're back there, and the copies back there.
okay. Any other comments from the public? I did like the ghost voting part, that was a good one. Let us all vote.
Okay,
Did it?
Mr. Myers, a yes? I'll vote for you. Are you a yes?
No, I'm voting. That's ghost voting, Mr. Hanlon, please.
It's not regular election now because we have one seat.
He's actually already voted. President, 78 to no nays.
Okay, this ends our special meetings concerning contracts. Meetings adjourned. We will have immediately, we're 1 minute late, Mr. Hendricks will chair the Public Safety Committee. Okay, Mr. Hendricks, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You know, it's our board, our board.
Mr. Hendricks, you ready, sir?
I am, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. We will now have a meeting of the Public Safety Committee, and we have one item on the agenda tonight.
Bill 15 amends the 2016 general fund budget and the 2016 equipment fund budget by transferring $100,000 from the unappropriated balance of the general fund to the equipment fund to cover the cost of purchasing a 2016 cab and chassis for the remounting of a 2000 ambulance box.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. And I saw, gentleman, what's that from?
I think that he's talking with Craig about the detail now.
Oh, okay,
What happened, the EMS guy?
yeah.
Yeah.
EMS director had to step out. So we'll have to pause here for a couple moments.
Yeah, you got 15 minutes.
Okay, Mr. Messinger, if you could just explain for my colleagues, myself, and the public exactly what this consists of.
Okay, this is was basically a 5-year-old ambulance that had approximately 100,000 miles on it.
If we could keep it down in the back, please.
And the box that was actually on the unit was in very good condition yet, okay, almost brand new. We had an issue with the frame on this unit though. So it ended up that the frame was cracked and could not be repaired. With the box being in good condition yet, we felt it was the responsible thing to do was to go out and have this remounted onto a new cabin chassis, where the total cost of it is about $100,000,
versus a new one at about $185,000. So we did, you know, with the box being in such good condition, we wanted to look at the most cost-effective way of putting another ambulance back in service.
Okay, thank you, and I assume that seems like a prudent thing to do. All right, at this time, I'll open up to any questions from my colleagues.
Yeah, one question.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
McLean.
This will include the mounting of it also?
This is
just
remounting everything, yes.
This is everything?
Everything.
Okay, it'll be ready to drive out?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? I just have one question, Mr. Messinger. I assume there was no warranty violation there, or?
Not with the cabin chassis, no. It was outside of its warranty with it.
Period.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I'll open it up to the public. Mr. Hahn, good evening.
Good evening.
You would state your name for those who may not know who you are?
Tom Hahn, 2016 East Highland Street. Could I have a little more detail on engine, tires, wheels, what's exchangeable? What do we save as far as the repaired alternators, generators? I mean, the parts of the frame that go.
Okay, if that can be
The unit is pretty much a totaled unit when the frame is cracked. So we relinquish the unit then at that point in time, and then there will be some monies that will be returned for that. But when a frame is cracked, it pretty much makes it to the point where if you would repair that, it would be reconditioned vehicles. So as far as, we would not have anything as a reconditioned vehicle put in our EMS fleet.
which would make sense to the liability and.
Right.
That wasn't my question. My question was, is there a trade-in value for the engine, the tires, the rims, for the things that are still on the frame, like, as a person who would overhaul cars or fix cars, is there a trade-in value to lift the body up and the rolling plot gets a discount for us? Or do we take that, put those alternators, generators, starters off the engine and parts to be reused? Or is it, if it's a 216 model and they don't fit, or you can't use the tires, or you can't use the parts that would go into stock on the shelf?
Fair question. Do we trade in the chassis?
When we get to a point where the units on any city vehicles are no longer usable by us, everything is put online and sold. So it is a public website, and if you would like to purchase this or put a quote in on it, I will get you the information.
Thank you. We have one more. Good evening, Mr. Hunsicker. If you would also state your name and address, please.
Okay. Glenn Hunsicker, 844 South 11th Street, Allentown. I noticed we do a lot of unappropriated fund transfers, and I'm wondering, what was the balance before we did this transfer in the general fund?
I believe Mr. Hartzell is going to attempt to answer that question.
Sorry.
I will go ahead then. Excuse me, sir. As we have indicated in the financial reports for the end of calendar year 2015, it looks like our net position is going to be about $3 million better than had been anticipated if we had spent as the budget had indicated. So the bottom line in the general fund is that this was on top of already expecting to have a balance of a few $1 million that was unencumbered. We also, in this year's budget, have, with the help of the transfer of the solid waste fund loan, which my colleague next to me I know is no big fan of, but we have it, is meaning that we're planning on taking into the general fund about $1 million more this year than what we had expected for expenditures. And so during the course of the year, if there is something of this nature that comes up, It is a fairly modest amount. I think it is important that in those instances, we take from the unappropriated balance, since it's not been planned for someplace else, and make that known to the public that we are taking from that balance for a very specific reason. My guess is, and Mr. Messenger can probably verify this, is that the equipment fund dollars that are assigned have already been spoken for, and so we needed to draw upon this as an additional use of that fund's purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzell.
Can you repeat that? I was looking for a number, that's all I want. I want a number. I mean, $1 million here, $1 million there, and, I mean, just, we should know basically what we have in there right now. I mean, did you transfer the solid waste fund money already? Is that transferred sitting in the general fund? Or is that sitting there in an account somewhere, ready to be transferred on a piecemeal basis, or what?
Mr. Hartzell.
And Senator Everett Dirksen as well, I like that quote. I use that a lot and have done that many times. We are waiting to make the transfer until after we receive the majority of the bills coming in from the trash fee, which have been going out over the last month or so. For Mr. Messenger's purposes, for the solid waste fund purposes, I think it was only fair to be sure that there was sufficient cash to cover things for their operations before we made the transfer.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzell.
I'm still confused, but I didn't get a number yet. We'll work on them. His computer must be stuck. I mean, we have to have a number somewhere sitting in a computer saying how much money's in that fund. Yeah. And it's unbalanced. I mean, unappropriated balances, we should know what that number is. So, I mean, if we can't come up with a number, we gotta work on a computer system that gives him that number right out of his app on his phone. I mean, he should, well, I shouldn't. I'm surprised that he didn't give us a number. That's what I'm surprised at, because he's a very good professional person in the position he's in, and it just surprises me with this answer, that's all I'm saying. So I was looking to say, hey, there's $5 million in there now, and we can verify it, that's all. But, okay.
Very briefly, we will have a verification on the balance of the unencumbered portion of the general fund once the consolidated annual financial report is completed in June. We had come into this year estimating that if we had spent at the rate that we were going to last year, we were going to have about $5 million or so unencumbered. I think we're going to come up better than that because we were able to constrain our spending. And this year, the number of times that we are bringing forward an item from the unappropriated balance will be very few, and they will be minimal in dollar amounts, and you can factor that up against the $1 million surplus that we started with. But I felt it was important that when a situation like this happened that required additional expenditures we had not planned, that for transparency's sake, we present it this way.
Okay, thank you. So I anticipate in June, Mr. Hunsaker will come back with that question.
Well, Mr. Henry,
Thank you.
I think Mr. Hunsaker is right, and I think the finance director doesn't have under the city law, to be allowed to reopen the budget to change the unappropriated balance. When council passed the budget, the unappropriated balance was $700,000, and it remains that throughout the year until council submits an amendment to the budget to reopen the budget. You guys can't reopen the budget. So in February, we still have $700,000, April, I'm sorry. In April, we still have $700,000 unappropriated until you pay to take the money for the box and then the other stuff in bill number 14. It doesn't change. You reduce the unappropriated balance. That's budgeting. The finance director doesn't have the authority to reopen the budget until he submits to the council, and then council changes the unappropriated balance. Right now, he can't have $1 million in unappropriated balance. He hasn't got that authority. You guys have the authority. So I think we have to get down to budgeting the way budgeting is supposed to be, and not play with numbers. Thank you. So the unappropriated balance is $700,000. If you look at your budget, it's $700,000, and you're taking money out of that, then you have to find out. You're going to reduce it tonight by $100,000 for the box, and you're going to reduce it by another $413. So you're going to reduce it by $513. You're only going to have about $200,000. Unless the budget reopen, he cannot change the number. You know that. Believe me, do it many times when you weren't. When I was on council, you would not.
My understanding was, my understanding was only the mayor.
That's right. Well, he could submit it to the mayor to reopen the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschman. Are there any other questions from the public? If not, I'll ask for a motion from one of the committee members. Move this forward to the full council.
Motion.
Motion made by my colleague McLean. Seconded by Ms. Affa. Motion is made. All those in favor? Aye. And we'll move this to the full council with favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public safety meeting, and we will go right into Mr. Garidi, Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Mr. Garidi, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. We only have one item on the agenda. We will have a regular Budget and Finance Committee meeting on the 27th at 6 o'clock. However, today we have Bill 14. Mr. Hanlon, will you please call Bill 14?
Bill 14 amends the 2016 General Fund, the 2016 Liquid Fuels Fund, the Trexler Fund, the 2016 Risk Fund, the Equipment Fund, the Solid Waste Fund, and the 911 Fund by appropriating funds from the unappropriated balance of the rollover of encumbrances to the prior year amendment.
Mr. Hartzell, will you please explain the rationale for it?
Gladly, and I'm not sure if this is what Mr. Hirschman was concerning himself with as far as...
Excuse me, Mr. Hartzell. Back there, please, gentlemen. I think he may answer one of the questions that one of you asked. So, Mr. Hartzell, please continue.
In the course of the year, in which I mentioned that we had spent $3 million less than we had expected for operations, there still were a few pending items in the general fund, actually a few others funds as well, that a commitment had been made and intended encumbrance, but we have not yet received the goods and services that come from this. And so this is the annual rollover request so that we can carry budget from the previous year over for a defined period of time, which will expire at the end of June 30th, with the intention that existing purchase orders that are already in the system will be covered by this additional budget authority being moved forward from the previous year.
Okay. Any comments from my colleagues? Any comment from the public? Mr. Hirschman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not disagreeing with the numbers he's providing, money that's over and above what they budgeted. But to spend it, you have to appropriate it, and only council can appropriate if the mayor submits an amendment to the budget. They can't go out and spend money as it's been appropriated. There's extra money now. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing, but
I think that's
what we do, but budgeting is budgeting, and we have a process of.
I think that this is part of the process right now. This is what we're on.
The money is right now, you appropriate a budget, you approved a budget in December, I think the unappropriated balance is $700,000, it remains that. It doesn't change because that money he's saying.
No, my understanding, Mr. Hirschman, and I understand what you're saying. My understanding is that any money that is on the unappropriated balance can be brought to council, which they're doing, for us to spend, and that's what we approve.
You're reducing appropriate, by now you should only have about $200,000 or $300,000 left after you spend the two bills. But to increase it with $1 million that's available, council, the mayor has to go to the mayor and ask him to shift the council to reopen a budget to provide.
Let me allow Mr.
We did that many times.
Let me allow Mr.
The mayor
Hartzell.
submitted it.
Yeah, let me allow Mr. Hartzell to explain that.
Well, this is going through with the mayor's approval because this is what we intended to do.
The council to approve, the mayor doesn't approve by this.
Well, I'm here representing the administration to do this, and this is budget authority that existed in the previous year. It does not affect the appropriations for fiscal year 2016, other than it is bringing over about $800,000 in appropriations over the several trust funds and the general fund that you see from 2015, so that purchases intended to be made last year, that at least the encumbrances were made timely, but we have not yet received the goods, can still be purchased with the old budget authority and not have any of the current year budget authority affected in any way. And there is a restriction that the departments that are bringing this authority forward tied to those purchase orders must complete the transaction by June 30th, or that budget authority disappears completely.
Mr. Hartzell, just so I understand it, probably Mr. Hirschman may have a thought on it, but this is the reason why we're doing the rollover, so we can will be able to appropriate that money that have already been targeted for those purchases to be now disposed of?
It had already been committed as part of the 2015 budget.
2015 budget.
And commitments had been made based upon that, and we're bringing that authority over so we can complete the transactions that we are still waiting to complete.
Okay, do you understand? I mean, I think we're doing it
I know
right.
what he's talking about. If
We're not doing
he-
good.
I'm saying if he takes out the unappropriate balance, he reduces the unappropriate balance, and we need about two or
But
three.
it's not a 2016 budget.
We're talking
We're talking about
2016 budget.
2015 budget that has.
We're talking 20, it says 2016, Julio.
No, it's been spent in 2016, but it was in the 2015 budget, and now it's being rolled over to the.
These are encumbrance of bills. What I'm saying, if he's reducing the unencumbered balance, that means it's reduced. The way he's saying he's not reducing the unencumbered balance, he's just moving the money from different funds that weren't sent into the encumbered balance. But if he's reducing the encumbrance balance, and he was saying we have $1 million, that means the mayor got to send council and reopen the budget to increase the unappropriate balance to $1.8 million. So you have extra money.
So you're saying.
You just can't move numbers around on your own.
You're saying that we should increase the 2016
Well,
budget?
see, it's up to the chairman, the finance director and the mayor, not to me to say. If he wants to have more money, we did that many times. We reopen the budget, they found more money, we open the budget, increase the unappropriate balance, and we transferred it to where we need the money.
In essence, we kind of rolled it over from last year, and it was targeted to be appropriated for this purchase, right?
I'm going to have Barb Molitor speak to this. She's encountered this issue in previous years and just wanted to speak briefly on it, if I may.
Thank you, Bob.
There you go.
This is the process, Mr. Hirschman, that we've been following for the 30 years that I've been
I'm not arguing
president.
about it, we're not taking on any.
And we rarely open up the budget to do what you're describing. This is a process that we used to do using an account 99, which we recently stopped using just about a year or two ago, and are now doing it by coming to council and rolling the POs as is more transparent.
I think we asked for that.
Mrs. Julio, I'm not disagreeing with what she's doing. She's taking it from different things and moving it to the unappropriate balance. I'm not saying. But the finance director said we take it from the unappropriate balance, but we're not. But if you would be gonna take it from the unappropriate balance, you're gonna reduce it again some more, and then we're gonna only have a couple $100,000 left. And he says, he mentioned, we have $1 million. We don't have $1 million, but you can appropriate the $1 million.
We are not touching the unappropriated balance on 2016
You're not touching
budget.
it, right?
We're just rolling it over from 2015.
That's from different accounts that weren't, that were still available, that wasn't spent. What I'm saying.
That money has already
The
been
finance director
accomplished.
said, Julio, what I'm saying, the finance director started saying, you got all this money, you can't spend it. You can spend it. You
Yeah.
can come to you and say, we want to change the unappropriate balance, we want to change the appropriation. Then he can spend it.
That's what he's
But not
doing.
saying we got this, we can spend it here, we can spend it, we can do it that way.
That's what he's doing now.
That's what we do with these ordinances.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hirschman. Mr. Hunsaker.
Yes, I have a question. I'm trying to clarify. Is this unappropriated balance coming from the 2015 budget or the 16? Because we're talking about the 16 budget.
Go right ahead, Mr.
So you're sort of pulling in a rollover number from last year.
Let's make that as clear as possible. The 2015 fiscal year is already closed, and we're getting it audited at this point for the capital report. We can't do anything else that is officially a 2015 expense. Let me get there. The appropriations that are being brought forward are connected to specific purchase orders that are in the process of being fulfilled and being paid, that were intended at that point to be drawn upon with 2015 budget. Now that we've closed the 2015 year, we have to move that authority into 2016 as a rollover and pay it out of the current year, because that is the appropriate fiscal practice.
Well, what if you would have encumbered that money last year because you knew that bill was coming in?
Well, they did.
Then you would have had that tied into the 15.
They did. They encumbered it last year, so it can be spent this year, right?
There are frequently times when a department is going to secure services they know, maybe in October or November, or a certain product that comes in, or Sometimes there is a long time period to actually receive the goods that we have purchased. And that's what we're dealing with in this instance, is that there were commitments made during 2015. The particular products and services being secured had not been totally received. And so we're giving these departments until June 30th to be able to draw upon that committed budget without having to touch any of the budget that was already planned for 2016.
Is it June, is an arbitrary number, or you just picked it, or is that normal?
Oh, it's arbitrary because I have been in places where budget rollover lasts much longer than a little time, and my thought here very clearly is, if we're going to roll over this budget for these purposes, you have to have it spent by 30 June, or it's gonna go away, and you're gonna have to use your current budget to be able to take care of it.
I think we have to look into this a little bit better, we get a better understanding. Maybe all you people understand it, council understands it, but I think there's some.
What area? Tell me what the gray area, I mean, I don't know.
The words of rollover.
I mean, what is it that you don't understand about it? Because it sounds clear, and you're a very smart guy.
I don't know about that, I'm just asking questions.
But I wanna know, because you may have some points that are very legitimate.
Trying to words, we were in the 2016, he answered some of the things that we talked about the 15 and 16 for these funds, and, I mean, I don't wanna take the whole night.
I'd like to find out exactly, I wanna make sure we're transparent as possible, especially when you have to
It
do
appears that the
finances.
process isn't proper, I don't know, it might be proper, the appearance is not proper, that's the thing. That you're rolling, I mean, I wouldn't be up here probably if he would've gave me a number when I first came up here, but now when I don't have a number that says there's an incumbent, he's gonna take money from someplace and we don't know what we're taking it from. If you took money out of your bank account, you just take $1 million out and say, oh, I only had 500,000, you would look in there first and say, I don't have the money. And I'm just looking for this, the same thing here.
I'm looking at it as account payable kind of thing. That sometimes you have things that are supposed to come in the year, 1 year, then you have to pay for next year. And that's what I call account payable. So that's what basically what it is. No, I mean.
I thought I heard him say that, let's say you had $1 million left over from 15, he's gonna roll it over into 16, and then we're gonna.
For certain things.
For things in 15 that were bought in 15, supposedly, I guess.
That were committed.
There is a specific set of purchase orders that are being applied to this, that were committed late in 2015.
Yeah.
That's the only thing for which this rollover budget can be used.
What, I guess the big thing here to me is the unappropriated funds balances. And we come up here year after year and I see rollover, or not rollovers, but transfers from the unappropriated balances. I never heard one person tell me, we have $1 million in this fund and we're gonna transfer $100,000 out of it, and now we have 900,000. I haven't heard anybody.
We do that all the
in
time,
3 years.
Mr. Holmes, we sign transfers all the time. We've been doing it as long as I've been here, and it's been doing it before I got here. We always sign transfer from one account to another.
You're obviously, yes, you do. I see there's all
Well,
kinds of
that's
transfers.
legal. We're not doing
But I
anything
don't know
illegal.
who's keeping track of those transfers, I mean, but anyway, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Holmes. Good afternoon.
My question is, with the appropriated money that wasn't spent in 2015, and you're rolling it over and putting in, that means there's no need for an increase in taxes because we have money left over from the previous year of the previous year. And so if this is unfunded money, then apparently at some point, the collection of all this money in the fund, in the bank account, collecting interest in the bank should be a non-increase for the public, because you're having this money lay around for over a year or months, whatever it is, in a fund that's collecting interest. And so the public, out of what you're doing here, should mean no tax increase. The extra money, it's a savings. It's a savings to the taxpayer. Is that correct?
We didn't increase taxes last year.
I didn't ask if you did last year. I'm saying the money that you have budgeted, that was left over, should,
Well, it's
and
not-
you're using it, and you're using it this year in the budget should mean no tax increase for the residents, because you got extra amount of whatever that amount is.
How many was encumbrance for something already?
Mr. Greedy, can I? I
Yeah,
know I'm not in this committee, but if I could possibly give you an example, okay, and hopefully Mr. Hartz will correct me if I'm wrong in this example. Let's say I was a department head, and let's say I was the chief of police, and I had budgeted $1 million to purchase a records management system, and I couldn't get it in 2015, and I couldn't get it done, but everything was rolling, and they couldn't deliver till January. I would then have to say, can we encumber this $1 million till 2016, till I get this records management system, and then we pay for it? So that way, we're not taking it from the 2016 money. It's already been budgeted for 2015, but I can't get that job done in 2015, so I asked for it to be encumbered, roll it over into 2016, when the job is completed, then it's paid for.
Okay, can you tell me what the liquid fuel money is gonna go toward, what the Trexler Fund money is gonna?
Let's not get into that, Mr.
No, wait, he used his example, I'm using his example. His example said about ordering something and then go. So all the things that are up there.
Mr. Hartz was gonna answer you.
If Mr. Hahn or anyone else wants the list of specific purchase orders to which these dollars are applied, we'll be happy to get him a copy.
That was the answer.
Because
I can
there
get
is
the
a specific
information
list of
for what it's
taxes.
gonna be spent for this year.
Okay, you'll get your copy. Thank you very much, Mr. It's here, but I don't know if he has it. Mr. Hahn, it's online, by the way.
Beg your pardon?
It is online, if you wanna get online. You always have your computer, so it's online and you can get it there.
Actually, I have an extra copy of it that he can have right now.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey,
Thank Barb for that.
25 cents a page.
See, we try to make you happy, Mr. Hahn. All right, any further question from the public? If not, I'd like to get a vote on it.
I'll make a motion that this gets moved to the full.
Second.
All in favor, please stand by say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries, would be pouring this forward favorably to full council meeting.
Okay, we will, Mr. Greedy.
I'd like to adjourn the meeting, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. We will start city council meeting at 7:05. We're going to take a little stretch break. 7:05.
Thank you.